back to our weekly Wednesday Fast Track Money session. And if this is your first time, I hope it's not. If this is your first time, I'm Yasi, the creator behind Fast Track. So we have a Fast Track podcast and also fasttrack.live, where you find a lot of articles about entrepreneurship, money, and career. So it's all about helping you launch your life on the fast track. And my whole co-host, as usual, is Matthias Richter. He is creator behind Financial Imagineer. Financial Imagineer is a blog platform where he shares his personal thoughts and experiences with you and help you imagineer your life. And most of his content is about personal finance, investing, and also helping you like achieving big goals in life. So that's why he called it like Imagineer your life, right?
Yes. It's all about making your dream life happen, making dreams come true, going for the big things in life.
Yeah. And one of the big things is about financial freedom or financial independence. That's why we created this YouTube live series called the Fast Track Money, because we want to discuss about anything about money and helping you, giving you more insights, helping you learn more about how to save more, earn more, and invest. And if you would like to just fast track your wealth and learn everything at one go, that you can check out our Fast Track Money course. The link is in the description, and this is an online course that you can join the exclusive community, which we already have some students from the past, and we will have regular webinars to bring you more content to help you be better with investing, do better with earning, be better with saving. And this is the life skill that you learn at one go. So we guarantee that your return on investment in your own education will be more than 100%. So if you have any questions, you can also ask us in this session. So today, our session is called Ask Me Anything. So you can literally ask us anything. And Matthias, I don't know, on your side, have you collected some questions? On my side, I have quite some interesting.
I do have some as well, yes.
Okay, so let me give all the audience the shout out. Feel free ask questions about investing or anything that you are not sure about personal finance, or ask some advice in decisions. But of course, we try not to give you financial advice. But if it's something you have a doubt about, we can help you to clarify. And so the audience, if you are here watching, please give us a shout out, send an emoji, and let's start a conversation. And Matt, can you let me ask the first question?
Sure. Please go ahead.
So oftentimes people ask, this, I hear it very often, right? So someone will say, how much money do I have, in order to start to invest? I don't have a lot of money. What to do? How can I invest?
Oh, yeah, I think this is oftentimes, I have a very similar question. Actually, somebody said to me, I would love to invest, but I do not have any free cash flow available. What would you do? I think this is more or less the same kind of question, just differently phrased. And I would say, okay, yes, you got actually to the point where you say, yes, it's important. I want to take action, but now you need cash. So how much is enough? I would say there is a lot of solutions around and available where you can actually get started investing with just a few $100, right? And if this is not what you have yet, you have to start to invest in yourself. I mean, the money thing is one thing, but if you don't have the cash, please do start to invest in your own skills. Maybe in I don't know, topping up your marketability for yourself to get a little bit more payments in the job, right? That's one way you can go about. And there's even a faster hack, which is usually the road less taken, but it's very, very efficient. And guess what it is? It's spending less money. Very simple. It's boring. It's not attractive. And a lot of people say, oh, what a shitty advice, right? He tell me not to spend more money. Well, yes, you have to adapt somehow, right? If you want to get started investing, you have to increase the gap between what you make and what you actually spend. The magic is what you keep. And the more you keep, the more you can do with it. And therefore, either reduce your expenses, find some things define your needs and wants. Whatever is a want and not really a need for you, cancel it, replace it, maybe find another alternative for it, and then try to have more free available cash flow for your investments. That's number one. Then market your skills better, upgrade your skills, and so on. And then you kind of increase this gap. And once you increase the gap, hopefully, there will be more money that you can devote to investments.
Yeah, and to add on to that one, earlier you mentioned that you can start investing as little as a couple of $100. You can even start investing as little as, let's say, what is the cheapest share? Like $1? I don't know.
It will depend on your platform that you use for that, right? So some platforms even allow you to buy fractions of shares now. So like an Amazon share, almost $3,000, you can buy like 0.001 shares of that in some platforms. So it really depends where you transact. I see a question here. The Rainmaker said, what's your favorite income source? Maybe Yasi, what is your favorite income source?
My favorite income source is the income that I do not have to actively spend my time and energy on it, and so-called passive income. And currently, I think my favorite passive income is, I think the easiest one is dividends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far I think it's very easy. If you want to buy ETFs or company shares and then you receive dividends and it's a passive income, I think it's very easy to execute and everybody can start to receive that passive income. Yeah. And then another type of passive income I like to have more in the future, I would say rental income, because then not only that you get passive income from your real estate property, but maybe the real estate property, the assets will appreciate in value as well. Or, if you need a place to sleep and you leave, you can always, move there. So I would say it's a very practical passive income assets, generating assets. And what about you?
For me, I have to say yes, the more passive something is, the better, because it kind of takes away the time and effort you have to put in. So like you, I'm a big fan of dividends and rental income. So we do have rental income, we rent out properties, and we do have dividend income from different investments, which regularly hit our accounts. And that's beautiful, because sometimes I even forget, right? And that's the best thing in life. If you don't even know when it's payday, you forget about it. And I get a notification, oh, look, I get something. But of course, right, this is something you need some capital to get started. And but eventually it's doable, right? So you get dividends also if you just start to invest into your first dividend share, and then you can take it from there. You can build it from there. However, I have to say also, if you are young and if you are just getting started on this journey, maybe dividend shares are not the best thing to do, right? This would be something to do more if you actually really need income, because if you go for dividends at an early age, you get taxed on that side more. So there could be some implications. If I'm young, I would rather go for growth stocks. Maybe you don't get it as an income, but just this I also wanted to say quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Welcome back, Dan the Wise. Let us
Hi,
know
Dan.
if you have any questions. Yeah. Just drop us a message in the comment section. And next question I have is, this is also a commonly asked question, is, do I have to be frugal to save a lot of money?
Well, you don't have to be frugal. Guess what? You can be a super high income earner and still spend more than other people, right? And if you do that, well, guess what? Your gap, again, that's the first question, your gap will be bigger. So the more you earn, the less frugal you have to be to increase your gap. So frugal is something you probably should do when you are just getting started, because then it's helping you to front load your kind of supercharge your bazooka to get started with investing. But at the end, eventually, you do not have to be too frugal, but being frugal makes it easier to kickstart the process. I see we have a question from Richard.
Richard, welcome to the show, Richard Shelley.
Innovation or cyclicals? Well, that's interesting. Yeah, well, innovation is definitely something. It depends on your time frame, I would say. Definitely. That's if you have a lot of time, go for growth, go for innovation, go for something that gives you the big upside over time. It also depends on what kind of tummy you have, the holding, the ability to hold through cycles, right? So to say, if you do cyclicals, it helps you to, you have to time the market. It's maybe harder because you may get the cycles wrong. You may get the timing wrong. And eventually, if you are just more passive in it, time in the market is more important than timing the market. But if you get the cyclical kind of rotation the right way, it could be a very interesting thing, but it definitely requires you to be more on the edge there. You need to be more active. You need to spend a lot more time. So it's getting less passive. With innovation, if you set on the right guys and you let them do your job, or you invest in an innovation fund, something like that, you can let time do its job there, right?
And in terms of innovation, I think one of the hottest topics nowadays is ARC, right?
Yeah, well, ARC. I'm also a big fan of ARC Invest. I do have the main fund. Even though the performance in this year was not really pushing higher, I'm also invested in the space fund with a small portion, because simply I like the idea that, you know, what is, some people, that's also a question like, isn't the market super lofty? Aren't we are at the multi-year top? What else can happen to grow it further? Well, guess what? There is space. Look at all the unclaimed real estate up there. You can go up there. There's so much more potential out there. Why not, you know, think out of the box, unbox yourself. Growth is something that doesn't mean we have to use up our resources. It doesn't mean we have to consume more. It means that things get better, more efficient, that there's so much upside still around.
I
Yeah.
think for innovation, it's very interesting if more futuristic, forward looking. And then it also depends on individuals, like investment philosophy. Some people prone to innovations, technologies, they like that. Maybe some other people, they are comfortable with like income funds, they're comfortable with bond. It also depends on your age. And I have a question from Giovanna. She
Yes.
asked, do you notice or do you write down every cost in a month? Or what do you think about that? Maybe I can answer that question.
Okay, please.
Yeah, so from my personal experience at the beginning, like I didn't track my expenses at all. I just spent not more than I earn. So what, as a result, I have no idea. The money comes and goes. Therefore, it's not very good if you want to, save and then build up wealth. And then since I started recording my monthly expenses, I just do one exercise for 1 year or even half a year. You would already know what kind of expenses you have and what kind of expenses that you don't need to have, and then you can cut it away and then save more and then put the money in investment. So track your expenses definitely helps you to have more clarity on your expenses, and it actually gives you more awareness of how to save more and build up wealth. Yeah.
Well, I can just second that. What I do is I actually look at the credit card bills every month, but I let most expenses run through credit cards that optimize for reward points, right? So you have the frequent flyer miles and all this stuff. At the moment, not so useful during the pandemic. But what happens is that the credit card bill, depending what provider you use, you can actually see there the kind of breakdown of your expenses. So I can see how much money I spend on transportation, how much goes to food, how much to groceries. My credit card provider provides me with a breakdown there. And this one, I really look at it every month, but I don't go to the nitty gritty stuff. I look at it like a ballpark figure. And if I think, holy shit, there was like too much money for transport. Oh yeah, that was our summer vacation. We did a road trip. Or like, oh my God, we eat so much in restaurants. Yeah, well, we were finally allowed to go back, right? So there's things like that. And the Rainmaker asked, if you could travel back in time, what financial advice would you give to your younger self? Well, yes.
I think what I would tell myself is, Yasi, go to take the fast track money course.
Okay. Buy Bitcoin. No.
Yeah, buy Bitcoin. Yes, buy Bitcoin.
Put everything in Bitcoin. No, to be like more on that side. I think what I would tell myself is just trust the process, trust the economic cycle, trust that if you invest in something for the long run, you don't have to be afraid if one day maybe volatility comes back. I have been through many cycles now. The first time I got really, really hammered, that was the new economic crash, 1999, 2000, 2001. That was really, really terrible. And of course, I didn't hold my things together. And at the end, even if you hold, Nasdaq is nowhere close to where it used to be. So it's kind of, it went higher, but some of these shares are not where they used to be. There were like some very highly inflated bubbles that popped, and then that was it, right? So, but diversify into the broader market. Don't have FOMO, fear of missing out. That's maybe what holds me back at the moment for Bitcoin, right? I think it's a FOMO thing, but that's my personal opinion on it. It has nothing to do with what it could be or not, right? And all this, I think, is highly interesting. So just trust the long-term process, trust to invest and hold the course. I think that's what I would tell myself.
I like how our two answers are different from each other. So for me, it's like learn about investing, learn about money skills. And then for you, it's you already know. So it's about stay the course and trust.
Follow what you've learned.
Yeah, follow what you learn. Yeah, first learn it and then follow what you learn. No matter what happened in the market, just stay the course.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you, Matt. It's from Richard Shelley. I think this question is for you. I think he asked, would be interested to know how much exposure you have towards tech/value and how much cash you have on the side in terms of percentage.
Okay. Tech, well, I hold some funds. Like I do have a fund like the Bailey Gifford Global Long-Term Growth Fund, which I like a lot, that has some tech. I wouldn't really know the breakdown in tech there at the moment. Value, maybe I'm around 15-20% at the moment. Tech and other things will make up the rest. Cash, I have around 30% cash at the moment, and that one is there just to take advantage of certain situations. But that's roughly my breakdown at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also Richard also commented like he's not a fan of ARK since earlier we mentioned about ARK.
Yeah. Well, this is I think what I'm really impressed with is how much assets they could attract, right? And also I think their view is very it's different than the norm. It's simply different, and I think by rule of that, it's just it got my attention. So I have some exposure. I'm not overexposed in it as well. So that's also a thing here. Very important for anyone. If you listen to this and we mention a stock or like a fund, it doesn't mean we are 100% or 200% into this. For me, that's one of the satellite holdings that I simply feel I trust their kind of process. I love their podcast. They have regular updates as well there. And I read their research updates. They're doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and we have one question from Dan DeWise. How to monetize on Instagram? Maybe I answered this question. So to monetize on Instagram, maybe you would want to be a social influencer. Then in order to become a social influencer, has a large following, you have to put out valuable content in your niche that you attract a specific target group consistently. So it's about quality and consistency, and keep engaging with other Instagram accounts that is in your area. People have the same interest, and keep doing that for 1 year, for 2 years, and for sure once you build up a large following and you have a community, and there's multiple ways to do it. So like Pat Flynn had a very good book. He said like super fans, 1,000 super fans. If you have 1,000 super fans, you can easily monetize a lot of things. Yeah.
Correct. I'm not too much on Instagram. I think I have less than 100 followers there. I am more active on other platforms. But
yeah,
I think,
for example, the Twitter handle.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I think we all these platforms are different in many ways, right? So you have some platforms that are more like according to your habits, and Instagram is very visual, and also I think the thing is hard to hide the link. It needs a lot more work. Twitter, I think, on the other side is very interesting. You have to put something very short, very concise, and you can put it out there. And usually when you write it well, it just flies. If you don't write it well, then nobody will react to it, which is also fine, right? But it's different platforms and different people, different target groups.
I have more questions here. I think one could be very interesting. It's a little bit controversial, but I've heard people told me that as well. Now, what would you respond to? Even for the audience, if you want to chip in your answer, feel free to type. What is your response when someone says, "I hate rich people"?
Yeah, I mean, okay, there's this whole discussion about, in Switzerland, 99% initiative, right? And I think there is rich people and rich people. It's different kinds of rich people. And I think first and foremost, it should be allowed in a society. Now it gets very political very quick. I try not to be political, but I believe in a society, if you do something that adds value, or you innovate something, or you do something new and different, I think there's the big key, right? You do something different than the rest, then probably if you do it right, if you do it well, you should be rewarded for that. And the capitalistic system has like a trial and error possibility here. People make startups, some of them succeed, some of them fail. And I think the more startups and the more of this entrepreneurial drive we have, the more actually we advance, and it helps us with innovation, with new products. It will push us forward as society. And yes, it must be rewarded, because if you don't reward it, nobody will try. And if nobody tries, why should you even bother to stand out and be different than the rest of us, right? And then we have seen in some other countries what's happening if people stop trying, and it's very sad. And therefore, kind of a political answer in a way, but I think you should allow people the path to wealth. It should be a dream, like the American dream, that should stay alive. And yes, I know there are people that say it's not possible anymore. It's all the inherited wealth and all that stuff, right? Yes, there are people like that. But if you clamp down and say you are not allowed to get rich anymore, I think your problems will even be worse. Or another thing, if you try to get rich people away from your country or your village or from anywhere, well, guess what? It's not just that they move away. They take away their capital. They take away maybe their risk preference and risk appetite, right? And they take away their ideas, and maybe they stop spending money there as well. So it's something, if you attract money, attract wealth, there will be more things to do, because in a capitalistic society, you need human capital, but you also need financial capital. If you only have one, you cannot do as much as with the other one together.
Yeah. Very important concept, human capital and financial capital. I like it a lot. It really opens my eyes, understanding how to use money as a tool to build up your financial capital while your human capital is decreasing over time. So for those who have never heard about this concept, just check out the link in description, the courses at fasttrack.live. On the website, you will see the chart about human capital and financial capital. Okay, I have another interesting question as well. And also, oftentimes this has been, the first comment our students to be asked. I don't have a lot of time to study the stock market. How can I make sure that I pick the right stocks to invest? Therefore, how to start?
Well, there is many ways to invest, right? Even the thing that you have to invest in stocks, you can invest in real estate and other things, your own business, you can invest in yourself. So investing is a very, very broad subject. And yes, if you say you want to invest in something more passive, like we said, dividends, stocks, and so on, there is good news for you. I got really good news for you. You don't have to choose a stock or two stocks or three stocks. Why don't you just buy the whole market? And that's an ETF. It's a broadly diversified tool that instead of just having to choose 10, 20 stocks yourself and have a lot of headaches over that, you buy all of them. You buy 500 stocks in one solution. And what happens then, right? You will have the losers as well, but you have the winners. You will not miss out on the winners. And in average, an ETF solution is most likely better than 80% of all the rest of the investors. So if you say this is good enough for me to have broad exposure to the market at the expense of, or actually at the plus point that you don't have to spend so much time, then this is a very, very good solution, because if you're afraid of making mistakes and taking first steps here, this is the simple way to get started. And it's actually, Warren Buffett even say it himself, this is his big advice to young people: buy ETFs, stay at that. Because the main question there will be, do you believe humanity will be better off 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now compared to now? Do you believe assets, companies, all of that stuff will be at a higher valuation 5, 10, 20 years from now? If you say yes to both of them, well, then it's obvious. You got to get your foot in the door. You got to get exposure. And ETFs are the best way to do that.
Yeah. And to add on to that, if for the audience, if you don't know what ETF is, in short, like ETF is a type of fund, but it's passively managed. It's tracking an index. Okay, there are some ETFs that are active managed, but mostly it's passive managed. But then in the fund, you have like a basket of hundreds and thousands of companies. So you don't have to pick individual stocks. You just buy this one ETF. You can buy one share. You actually have a, fraction and a basket of hundreds of the companies, which represent a whole economy. So if you think like 5 years down the road, the whole economy will boom, be it US economy, global economy, then the value of the share will increase accordingly. So you are in the market, I would say. So if you have your cash under your bed, then your cash is losing value because of inflation.
Exactly. And you can also walk around. Let's say you buy a Swiss, an SMI index, or you buy the SP 500 index. Later you can say every employee in this country of all these companies, from the assistant up all the way up to the CEO, is working to make you richer, right? You own parts of what they do. They go to work for you. You are the owner. And that's a very empowering thing to think like that.
Can you tell the story of McDonald's? I like that story.
Okay, well, that's something I did with my kids, and I think it comes from Robert Kiyosaki originally. But I think the idea is, so I take my kids on financial excursions sometimes, and once we went to McDonald's, and there the thing is very simple. If you want to teach financial literacy to people around you, use everyday examples. So once you sit down in McDonald's, you start to enjoy your food, you can ask the kids like, oh, there is 3 different kind of people in here. Tell me who they are and what they do. And then the kids will think. I say, okay, well, there is the people behind the counter. They work here. They sell us stuff. I say, yes. The second type, also simple, that's us, the clients. We come here, and all the others, they come here and bring money. They buy food, they buy stuff, right? So that's number 2. But then number 3, it's usually a little, delayed. And some of them will never get it. My kids didn't get it the first time. So who's the third type of person inside that shop? Later I say, okay, well, that's me. Why? I'm the investor. I have an ETF that has McDonald's inside. And therefore, I'm also the owner here. Wow, that's so cool. Yes, I own a little bit, right? Maybe it's just that little napkin over there, or that holder there, or, just something in that shop. That's what belongs to us. And if somebody comes here and gives money, that money, actually a little part of a fraction of that goes into my pocket in the end. And yes, also the people that work here, we will make a margin on their work, right? So that's how capital is being rewarded. That's also something about the rich people argument, right? So putting your capital on the line, you have the risk of not getting it back. So you have to get rewarded with something there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
really
so that's the McDonald's example. And I really like it because it's an eye-opener.
Yeah. We have a question from Inrose. Muhammad asked
Hi.
both. Yeah, both. In what scenario would you consider leveraged investing in long-term buy and hold companies? Would a 30% correction in the S&P 500 entice you?
Oh, I love that question. I have been highly leveraged before and sometimes less leveraged, but I love to work with credit lines. And again, here, disclaimer, very big disclaimer. I do not know you. I don't know where you stand. So number one, leverage and borrowing money to reinvest is something you should only do if number one, you can bear the risk of losing what is on the line. And if you really understand margin calls and all the rest of that stuff, this is not something to play around. But if the interesting thing is, what if, let's say, stock markets drop 30%? It's very interesting. It's like you want to buy more sometimes, right? So, and if a bank that allows you to have a credit line against your things, you can calculate. Like some banks, they give 80% lending value. Like I know a fund in my house bank, they give up to 90% of lending value against it. That's better than a house. And that one pays like 4% monthly interest. So you can gear it up 1, 2, 3 times. But again, this is something you can get heavily burned. I do not want to be here now as the guy to endorse leveraged investments. But to close and answer your question, I think it's very interesting if you know what you do. And also it depends on the, the amount of leverage you take. I mean, you can you mentioned scenarios. If it drops 30% and you say, okay, now it can maybe drop another 20 or 30%. You have to know where is game over. How much more would it have to drop? And then another very important thing, it's not just the market that drops that can cause a margin call. It's sometimes also your platform, your bank, your investment provider that can actually reduce outstanding lending value, credit lines. They can suddenly come and say, oh, our credit officer or the credit department has just reduced the credit line from 80% to 60% on this holding. Please top up until next Monday or we fire sell your holdings. So you have to be very aware, like where is the bottom line and what risk you take. Again, but in essence, because I think leverage sounds so bad and a lot of people think of it like something like, no, I will never do that. But guess what? So many people buy houses on mortgage. It's the very same thing. It's the very same thing. The only difference is you don't look at your house price every second or every minute because it's changing like ongoingly. Like if you look at shares, you can get scared like within intraday moves that are crazy. A house price, you don't see like that. A house, usually you buy and hold, right?
Yeah. And
Bill has a question, I see. Bill, thank you for being on the show, Bill. Welcome. How would you advise investors to handle market downturns from a psychological point of view? Okay, this is, I love that also because this is a super good question. And I love to switch here to supermarkets because supermarkets, I think they usually have discounts, right? they say, oh, today special sale, buy 2 for 1 today, right? I think the whole trick there is, number one, only invest money that you don't need tomorrow, right? You should have money in your investments that you don't have to liquidate within a short time. And number two, if suddenly the fire sale come, you should become greedy when others are fearful instead of getting fearful when others are greedy. No, the other way around. Instead of getting greedy, yeah, you have to be greedy when there is like blood in the street and people are messed up. And that's a little bit like taking advantage from others, people maybe chickening out or having to have a margin call, maybe, right? That could be the thing. So from a psychological point of view, just think of it like a supermarket sale. Think of it like, wow, I haven't seen this stock at such a great price. And maybe one other thing, most of our viewers are more on the younger side, right? You probably have, if you're like in your 20s, 30s, even in your 40s, you have probably 50 years ahead of you. So if that happens, you should be very happy because you get things cheaper for the rest of your life. This is a very good entry point.
Yeah, I really feel it because last year in March, the market actually dipped quite a lot. And then at that moment, I was reading the book, Simple Path to Wealth, or the three found to retirement. I don't remember by Yeah. And then at that time, I was reading this book, and in this book, it just teaches you stay the course, right? When the
Yeah.
market dips, and then you buy it cheaper. And it's just the moment I was reading the book, and then
The market dipped.
market dipped, and then I was like, wow. Then I kept buying and buying and buying. So my last year time weighted average return is close to 40%. I think
Okay.
I think there are maybe other people, they also do the same. If you don't really need the money, start investing. It's really a golden opportunity. I don't know when the next pandemic will come, but hopefully not. But
Yeah,
yes,
hopefully in another 100 years.
but if you understand,
The next time it will be something else. It will be
yeah,
something else again. Oh, and I like what Billy just said. Don't run out of McDonald's when burgers are half price. Eat more burgers. Yeah, burgers you cannot keep that long. That's the thing, right?
and the
Stock
emo,
up.
I think, also commented related to what we talked about earlier, is that I have a shopping list that I would love to buy more into it when it falls.
Oh yes, 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 yes. That's a very good way. Actually, this is like having a plan. Thank you, Imrose. Yeah, that's very, very good. It's better to have a plan, because once things get messy or scary, for some people, I'm not saying for everyone, but for some people, it will be very, very tough to keep your shit together, right? To keep your head together and do the right things. So I think this is also how Warren Buffett works. He has kind of a list, what kind of businesses he likes, and then he has another list and say, I'm only interested if it's going to go to that price. And if it goes to that price, he will take action. It's like a shopping list. Yeah, Warren Buffett's wish list. And I think in March last year, he didn't even take action yet, because the valuation, even at the worst day, it was still too high for him in March 2020.
Yeah.
And
That
then
was
at the end, he said, well, why did you not invest, Warren? And I said, oh, well, nobody ring the hotline, right? He has like a phone. If you're in serious trouble and you need some capital injection, you can call Warren Buffett, and he
yeah.
will be happy to help with his stockpile of cash. And what does he do at the moment? He's buying back his own shares with the cash, which is also great if you're a shareholder, because you get more value. He reduces the outstanding amount of shares, but the company stays the same, but therefore your stock price still go up.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I want to highlight here, because also from the point of view of who have not started investing, you are still early on this journey, want to learn more, that we not advice, but if you take the money course or if you read any books, you will know that it's not really about like timing the market, when go into the market, when to pick the stocks. I would say there are people doing that and it's more advanced, but for average person, it's really stay the course. And one of the common strategy is dollar cost averaging, DCA. Yeah.
I think the most important thing usually is you should make investing part of your life, right? So you should create habits. You should accept it. You should make it important enough, a priority in your life, that you actually go about it and get started in the first place. And I think that's exactly, a lot of people have never tried. They don't know. They think they don't have enough money. They look at it like it's very scary. And yeah, so they are kind of confused how to make this first step.
Yeah. It all starts with
Cheers, Billy. Bye,
education.
Billy.
It all starts with education. And coming to the end of this show, if you have more questions to us regarding investing, regarding personal finance, regarding where to start, feel free to leave in the comment section. We will reply you. And if you are interested in learning with us, we will be very glad to help you understand how to manage your money, how to earn more, how to start investing. And you can check out the course in the description. The links is there. And if you want to learn but you're not sure about the course, just you can also read some books. I think Matthias and I also wrote several articles about personal finance books that we would recommend everybody to read about it. So okay, we have one last question. Shall we take it?
What do you think of investing in farmland? Okay, well, this one, I was propagating farmland investing a lot about 1 to 2 years ago. I think the valuations are now very lofty. However, I have to say, I'm not selling everything. We reduced a little bit of the holdings there. I think it's a very interesting field to be in. It's inflation protected. People usually need to eat. Food has to come from somewhere, and farmland is going to profit from that. If there will be a huge inflation and so on, you don't really have to have gold or Bitcoin or whatever. Farmland is good enough because food prices will go up, and therefore scarcity will pay off. However, if you look at the cash flows and the dividend distributions in this sector, I think dividends have roughly halved. You get about 50% currently on the dividend that you got like 1 year ago. So, and I think a lot of very wealthy people in the US have gobbled up some farmland in the last few months. So the sector is crowded. It's not really a unrevealed gem anymore. It's more crowded now. And definitely for an inflation protection, I still think it's interesting, but it's also not so attractively priced anymore.
All right, we don't have other questions for today. I think let's wrap it up. Thank you guys for your questions. Thanks for your participation. If you like this format, let us know. Maybe we can have it every now and then. And in the coming weeks, we are going to talk about, how to create wealth in your 20s, your 30s, how to do real estate investing, and do's and don'ts. And if you like this content, follow us. And see you in the next show.
Cheers. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.